Greetings, fellow Earthlings. Welcome to my second video. You watched the first one. Thank you. If not, I recommend go watching it. It just gives a brief overview of my life. Up to now, however, in this video, I'll be discussing my condition. So, let's talk about my condition. The official name is Duchenne Muscular Dystrophy, or DMD for short. It's a genetic disorder. In the human genome, there are about 26,000 genes, which is just the sections that scientists have divided the human genome into. Each gene has so many exons and so many introns. There are about 240,000 exons and about 200,000 introns. The exons that are affected by DMD are in the dystrophin gene, which is the largest gene of all of them, which contains 79 exons and approximately 60 introns. For our purposes, introns are simply that which connect the exons together. But to get more focused on DMD, DMD is caused by a deletion of one of the exons, or in some cases, rarely a duplication. Some people missing multiple genes, multiple exons within the gene. For me, I'm only missing one. That is exon 44. Now, I'm not entirely missing it. There's actually what's called a hazing, which there is a little bit of the exon there, but unfortunately not enough for the body to properly function. Now, the role of the dystrophin gene is to give instructions to the body on how to produce dystrophin. But unfortunately, if even one exon is missing from the 79, dystrophin cannot be produced. And if it is produced at all, it's in extremely small quantities. Now, what is dystrophin? Well, dystrophin is a protein that is basically, it holds the muscle fibers together and protects them from injury during movement. Without dystrophin, the body is unable to repair damaged muscle or keep it from being damaged. Now, it's important to note that depending on which exon is deleted, the effect will be slightly different, sometimes more severe, sometimes less severe. Oftentimes, especially with people with multiple lesions, they will also have mental disability as well. Thankfully, my particular form of the DMD does not affect my cognitive abilities. So now let's move on to the practical symptoms of DMD. The first indication of Duchenne's is usually developmental delays as far as physical. For instance, most 3-year-olds can climb the stairs without relatively easy, but someone with Duchenne's will usually show difficulty climbing stairs. They will often have to kind of crawl on the stairs, kind of use their hands and legs because their legs aren't quite strong enough to climb the stairs and remain balanced. So, I mean, the primary symptom is muscle weakness, and because of that, muscular atrophy, which is means the muscles kind of no longer function well. Usually, it starts with the major muscles. So the largest muscle would be the muscles in the thighs, and then the calves, and then you normally see some weakness in the abdominal muscles as well. Usually, often to compensate, this is one of the seeable signs is that boys when they're around like 6, 7, will start to walk on their toes because their calves are trying to compensate for the weakness in the thighs. Then as the disease progresses, usually it's the point where you have difficulty walking any long distances, and at that point, they usually you start with they give you a wheelchair to ride around sometimes, and unfortunately, it very quickly progresses to where you no longer have the ability to walk at all, and at that point, you're fully dependent for mobility on your wheelchair. To me, this happened around 8 years old. Was when I got my first wheelchair and power wheelchair, and I was in it mostly full time. As the disease progresses, it begins to there's going to be a noticeable effect on the arms. Usually the biceps first, then the forearm, and as the disease progresses, it begins to progress to the smaller muscles such as the feet and hands. One of the unfortunate symptoms of muscular atrophy is that the tendons and ligaments also begin to tighten just because they're not being used, and this results in the inability to straighten the joints out completely, and it's not really painful or anything, it's just but it does require physical therapy to maintain its flexibility. Unfortunately, physical therapy does very little to help the muscles because as this is a degenerative disease, there's not much you can do to stop that. Then now, around the time that the hands start to become affected, it begins to affect your diaphragm, which is the muscle that you use to breathe. So this makes breathing kind of difficult. You get shortness of breath. Just like you get tired. Breathing actually tires you out, which is unfortunate. It also begins to affect the heart, and I don't know if I explained earlier, but since the body cannot produce dystrophin and does not have dystrophin to replace the damaged muscle tissue, in place of dystrophin, the body begins to develop scar tissue, and this makes the muscles hard and unflexible, and it begins to affect the heart. And when you take a heart scan, there's noticeable scarring and decrease of function. My last appointment, my heart was operating at about 52% efficiency, which is most people's hearts are not 100% efficient. But this is near the low end of normal, where we start to get concerned, and there's certain things that doctors can see in a scan, that irregularities in the heartbeat and stuff. So I'm on a medication. It's just a small dose of medication, which just basically makes the heart easier to function, so that it slightly increases the efficiency of the heart. So obviously, as the heart begins to deteriorate, most people with Duchenne's die of either heart failure, or pneumonia can kill us as well, because if we can't breathe very well, pneumonia is bad enough for a normal person, but for us it can be but deadly, to be honest. With recent advances in medical science, people with Duchenne's are living a little bit longer, and most people are pretty dying about their 20, 21, 22. I'm 23, almost 24 at this point, so that's good. Mostly with advances like this machine I use, Can't We Breathe, which is a very new thing. It's only been out for a couple of years, and some of the medications and the heart medication and stuff have helped increase the longevity. The doctor's current prognosis is late 20s. Most people don't make it to the 30s. Now, it's mostly that reason is just because the heart just eventually deteriorates to the point where, heart failure becomes a problem. So yeah, it's kind of pretty a grim outlook as far as science goes. They have made great strides in genetic research. They have some drugs called they're called exon skipping drugs, which basically help the body to basically just say, okay, like it kind of skips over the exon so that the body can then make dystrophin. These are still in the very early trial stage, but when I was diagnosed, they were only throwing their rats, and now they're doing some clinical trials on humans. Unfortunately, it's too little, too late for me. Those won't really help me at this point. So mostly if someone is born and they genetically test them, they found their DNA, they can put them on these hopefully on these drugs that will hopefully slow the progression of the disease. But unfortunately, it's too late for someone like me. So at this point, I have little hope in science. My hope is honestly solely on God at this point. I 100% believe that in healing. I don't believe that it is always God's will to heal, but I'm sure hopeful that it is God's will to heal me. At this point, I can't really. I try to focus much on that because it is sort of on doing life and pursuing God and doing whatever I can to, spread the gospel and do what I can now. And being hopeful that God will one day heal me, and hopefully soon. So I think I'll end that video there. If you have more questions about DMD, you can there are lots of websites you can go research it and you can know more. So I'm going to be posting another video, which I will probably link in the description, which is going to be my testimony. So if you are interested in that, go ahead and watch that as well.